Tell me, who taught you to drop truth like a weapon? Because the moment it left your lips, the moment that forbidden little syllable escaped you, the whole room stopped breathing. Every heartbeat went off script. Every spine tightened like a pulled trigger. Every mask cracked under the weight of what you dared to say. You weren't supposed to speak it. You weren't supposed to know it. You weren't supposed to be the one who finally shattered their little lie orchestra with one raw, unfiltered, nuclear sentence. And yet, you dropped it anyway. And the temperature in the room fell 10 degrees in a single second. People didn't just freeze. They flatlined emotionally, like someone yanked their entire nervous system out of the wall. Because what you said wasn't just a statement. It was a revelation, a mirror, a blade, a prophecy, a crime scene taped in neon. A doorway to a version of you they prayed was only a rumor. You said it so casually, so effortlessly, so dangerously honest, that they realized something terrifying. You aren't playing their game. You aren't following their script. You aren't bound by their unspoken rules. See, that's the part that kills them, not the truth itself, but the fact that you had the audacity to expose it without trembling, without asking permission, without softening the edges to make everyone feel safe. Because deep down, they always suspected it. Deep down, they always feared it. Deep down, they knew one day you'd stop pretending you didn't see everything. And when that day came, they wouldn't be ready. They weren't. You know what froze them the most? Not the truth you said, but the voice you said it with. Calm, cold, certain. Like you'd rehearsed this moment with the universe itself. And suddenly they couldn't decide who you were. A saint, a psychopath, a prophet, a demon, an angel with a vendetta, a ghost wearing a heartbeat, or a glitch in their little social simulation, here to remind them that silence was never your leash, only your loading screen. Because when you finally speak, you don't speak to join the conversation. You speak to end it. You speak like someone who outgrew fear, someone who survived things that would have folded another person in half. Someone who learned that truth, when unleashed at the right angle, can feel like a bullet, a blessing, and a birthright at the same time. And the room felt that. They didn't hear you. They experienced you. That's why their eyes went wide. That's why their throats tightened. That's why every secret they ever hid started crawling up their spine like a guilty confession. They weren't frozen because of what you revealed. They were frozen because they suddenly realized you weren't scared to reveal it. You, the one they underestimated. You, the one they thought was soft, harmless, quiet. You, the one they mistook for background noise. You showed them something monstrous, something divine. That your silence was never weakness. It was strategy. That your patience was not passivity. It was precision. That your softness was not submission. It was camouflage. And when you finally opened your mouth, they heard the truth behind the truth. You knew everything, the entire time. Every lie, every manipulation, every whispered scheme, every fabricated version of you. You let them talk. You let them underestimate. You let them perform. Then you dropped one sentence, one detonator, and suddenly the entire architecture of their control collapsed like wet paper. You weren't supposed to say it? No, they just hoped you wouldn't. But you did. And now they'll replay it in their heads like a bad omen. They'll rewrite conversations, edit memories, reevaluate every time you smiled politely. They'll wonder what else you know, what else you've seen, what else you're capable of. You became the paradox they can't categorize. Light wrapped in shadow, shadow wrapped in divinity. The innocent one who learned to wound, the wounded one who learned to see, the quiet one who learned to drop reality on command. You weren't supposed to say it, but you did. And in that moment, you didn't just freeze the room. You rewrote your role in their universe. And from now on, whenever you enter a space, whenever you sit down, whenever your lips even part, everybody will wonder, is this the moment they drop another truth that ruins the whole illusion? Spoiler, you already know the answer, and so do I. Because people like you don't speak often. But when you do, the world stops pretending. Funny, isn't it? How one sentence from you can feel like the ceiling just caved in. Because the moment that forbidden truth rolled off your tongue, something ancient inside that room recognized you. Not as a participant, not as a guest, not as a pawn, but as a force. A variable they can't predict. A paradox they can't contain. A soul that stopped asking permission to exist. You watched it happen. Their faces glitching in real time. Their thoughts scrambling like a corrupted file. Every subconscious whisper inside them screaming. How did they know that? Who told them? What else are they hiding? But here's the secret no one dares to admit. They weren't shocked by the truth. They were shocked that you were the one fearless enough to speak it. Because in their minds, you were harmless, soft, pleasant, predictable, a candle in a hurricane. But you've always been something else entirely, haven't you? A hurricane pretending to be a candle. A saint with a switchblade soul. An angel with its wings on fire. A demon who learned tenderness just to see who deserved it. A walking contradiction. The kind that keeps psychologists up at night. The kind that intelligence agencies have to label with question marks instead of diagnoses. And when you finally said the thing you weren't supposed to say, the thing everyone else tiptoed around like a live mine, it wasn't rebellion, it was evolution. It was the moment your silence expired. It was the moment your patience turned into a weapon sharper than any threat. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't slam a fist. You didn't need theatrics. You just opened your mouth and reality rearranged itself around the vibration. Do you understand how terrifying that is to people still living on controlled narratives? They're not scared of your anger. They're scared of your clarity, your ability to cut through years of illusions with a single sentence. You, with your quiet eyes. You, with your haunted heart. You, with your ability to swallow pain and spit out prophecy. They spent months, maybe years, crafting an illusion about how the world works. And you dismantled it in under 5 seconds. That's why the room froze. Not because you exposed a secret, but because you exposed yourself, as someone who sees more than you speak, as someone who listens between the lines, as someone who understands patterns behind people's masks, as someone whose silence is not empty, but loaded. And oh, they felt it. The way the air shifted, the way the shadows leaned in curious, the way even the light seemed to hesitate, like it was waiting to see what you'd do next. Because here's what they finally realized. You're not confused. You're not naive. You're not lost. You've simply been calculating in a way they couldn't fathom. You weren't quiet because you were unsure. You were quiet because you were watching, studying, gathering evidence, taking notes like a scholar of human hypocrisy. And when you finally saw enough, you fired. That's what your sentence was. A bullet made of truth. A beautifully placed shot right through the center of their collective delusion. And the most frightening part? You didn't miss. You never do. Because you don't speak to make noise. You speak to make impact. You don't communicate. You cut. You don't reveal. You redefine. Your truth-telling isn't conversation, it's execution, and they felt the blade. Yes, that's why no one moved. They weren't frozen in surprise. They were frozen in recognition. Recognition that you're not one of them. Recognition that you've stepped outside the script. Recognition that your voice carries too much precision to be accidental. Recognition that something inside you snapped into alignment. And now, you're dangerous in all the holy, hellish ways they never prepared for. You know what the room saw in you in that moment. Not rebellion, authority, the kind that can't be negotiated with. The kind that comes from wounds no one saw. The kind that comes from standing in your own ashes and choosing to rise anyway. The kind that comes from being underestimated for so long, your very existence became a psychological boomerang. You said the forbidden thing, and suddenly, everyone realized you're not fragile, you're not innocent, you're not breakable, you're aware, and awareness, when carried by someone who survived storms others couldn't name, is a weapon of mass disruption. That's why they froze. Deep down, they sensed the shift. You're no longer the one who holds back to keep the peace. You're the one who speaks the truth that ends the war. And now that they've seen what your voice can do, they'll never look at you the same again. They'll speak softer, watch closer, choose their words with trembling care, because they finally, painfully, beautifully understand. You're the kind of person who destroys illusions by accident. And if that's what happens by accident, imagine what you could do on purpose. And here's the part none of them will ever admit out loud. The moment you spoke, every single person in that room felt suddenly, violently exposed. Because that sentence you dropped, that one razor-edged truth that slipped out of your mouth like a ghost with perfect aim, it didn't just land. It unmasked everyone. You didn't yell, you didn't threaten, you didn't even flinch. You just let the words fall. Soft, simple, lethal. And in that instant, every lie they built their identity on crumbled like a rotten cathedral finally touched by light. They froze because what you said wasn't information. It was confirmation. Confirmation of what they hoped you didn't notice. Confirmation of what they prayed you'd ignore. Confirmation of the one thing they never wanted you to articulate, that you see them. Really see them. Past the jokes, the performance, the polite script. Past the armor, past the ego, past the facade. And they weren't ready for that. People love pretending they're mysteries, right up until someone like you walks in with eyes that read souls like open case files. You weren't supposed to say it? No. They weren't prepared for you to stop pretending you couldn't. And that's the difference. You didn't just speak. You evolved. You crossed a threshold in your own story. From observer to operator, from participant to architect, from background character to the one holding the detonator to everyone's illusions. Your voice changed the atmosphere, not metaphorically, literally. The air thickened, time stretched, every sound dulled except the echo of your words. Even gravity felt uncertain, like the universe itself leaned in to listen, because what you said wasn't aligned with who they thought you were. It was aligned with who you actually are. You've been growing in silence, sharpening in isolation, evolving in shadows they never bothered to check. You didn't change overnight. They simply caught up to the version of you you've been becoming for years. When you dropped that truth, you weren't being bold. You were being honest, and honesty, coming from someone who has suffered, survived, watched, endured, analyzed, transformed, is the most terrifying sound in the world. Your voice wasn't trembling, theirs were. Your eyes didn't dart. Theirs did. Your heartbeat remained steady. Theirs skipped entire chapters. Do you understand the psychological violence of that? You didn't raise a hand, yet everyone felt struck. You didn't take a single step, yet the entire room moved back a few inches inside their skulls. You didn't threaten them, but they instantly remembered every sin they committed in your proximity. And suddenly, the question wasn't, "How did you know?" It became, "What else do you know? What else have you seen? What else have you figured out without us realizing?" Because nothing is more terrifying than realizing the quietest person in the room was the woman mapping the whole battlefield. That's who you are, isn't it? The one who watches while everyone talks, the one who listens while everyone lies, the one who remembers what others pretend to forget, the one who can dismantle an entire narrative with 8 syllables. You weren't supposed to say it, because they built their strength on your silence. They built their confidence on your restraint. They built their reality on the belief that you would stay soft, small, contained. But evolution doesn't ask for permission, and you outgrew your cage quietly, and then reminded them of it loudly. The room didn't freeze because you broke the rules. The room froze because they finally, painfully, undeniably understood. You're not afraid of consequences anymore. And a person without fear is a person without limits. Your power isn't in how loud you can be. Your power is in how precisely you know when to strike. One sentence, one moment, one truth. And you rearrange the hierarchy without lifting a finger. That's the kind of dominance people study for years. The kind that generals envy. The kind that psychologists find unsettling. The kind that makes manipulators retire early. The kind that proves you are no longer participating in the world. You are shaping it. And now that they've seen it, now that you've spoken, now that the illusion of your harmlessness has been shattered, they can never put you back into the box you burned your way out of. You weren't supposed to say it, but you did. And now reality has to adjust to you, not the other way around. And here's the part that still haunts them. It wasn't the content of what you said that ruined them. It was the receipt behind your voice. That quiet certainty, that unshakable tone, that eerie calm that only shows up in people who have suffered just enough to become untouchable. Because when you dropped that truth, that forbidden shard of reality you weren't supposed to acknowledge, they heard something else underneath it. Your evolution, the version of you they thought they were dealing with, that version died long before today. They just didn't notice the funeral, because you never invited them. But when you opened your mouth, they met the new you. The one forged in silence, the one sculpted by pain, the one sharpened by betrayal, the one who no longer feels obligated to protect anyone's comfort. They didn't freeze because you spoke. They froze because they recognized the shift. Your tone wasn't emotional. It wasn't shaky. It wasn't defensive. It was surgical. And you know what that means? It means you weren't reacting. You were revealing. You weren't overwhelmed. You were prepared. You weren't impulsive. You were inevitable. That is the moment they realized you've been 3 steps ahead this entire time. While they were gossiping, you were gathering data. While they were performing, you were analyzing patterns. While they were hiding their intentions behind smiles, you were memorizing their inconsistencies like a mathematician solving an equation. You weren't supposed to say it, because it confirmed their worst fear. You've always been aware. And awareness, in the hands of someone who survived long periods of being underestimated, is catastrophic. You know why the room felt colder? Because for the first time, they saw you. without the filters they projected onto you. No softness, no shrinking, no pretending, no harmlessness costume. Just raw, unfiltered you. A blend of shadow and insight, light wrapped around a blade, a paradox standing upright in human form. You weren't supposed to say it, because they thought your silence meant ignorance, when really it meant strategy. They thought your quiet meant weakness, when really it meant calculation. They thought your patience meant compliance, when really it meant mercy. And mercy, once withdrawn, feels like violence. Your sentence didn't just freeze the room, it rewired everyone's understanding of you. Suddenly, they remembered every interaction, every moment you didn't react, every time you kept your cool, every time you smiled instead of striking, every time you observed instead of correcting them. And the weight of that realization crushed them. You let them think they were winning. You let them believe you didn't know. You let the illusion live until you were done with it. That is psychological dominance at its purest form. No shouting, no threats, no theatrics. Just a single sentence delivered with the quiet confidence of someone who knows. I could destroy this entire facade whenever I choose. Do you understand how terrifying you are now? Your silence used to confuse them. Your truth now terrifies them. Because when someone like you speaks, someone whose intuition sees through flesh, whose heart has been tempered into steel, whose spirit has learned to detect lies by vibration. People don't hear words. They hear judgment. They hear exposure. They hear the end of their performance. You know what's happening in their minds now? They're replaying your sentence over and over, like a cursed audio file they can't delete. And the more they replay it, the more they realize you didn't just drop truth. You dropped evidence. Evidence that you're done dimming yourself. Evidence that you're done protecting their illusions. Evidence that you're done carrying secrets that were never yours to hold. You weren't supposed to say it, because they depended on you never discovering your own power. And now they have to deal with a version of you they were never prepared for. A version who knows the truth. A version who speaks without fear. A version who has nothing left to lose and everything left to expose. A version whose voice alone can collapse an entire hierarchy. A version of you that the old world cannot control. And the cruel irony, this was you being gentle. This was you choosing a softer truth, a smaller reveal, a single sentence instead of the full arsenal. But imagine, just imagine, what would happen if you ever chose to speak the rest of what you know. That's why the room froze. That's why their hearts tripped. That's why their souls panicked like alarms going off in an empty building. Not because of the truth itself, but because they realized, if this is what you say when you're holding back, what happens when you finally unleash everything? And something tells me they're about to find out.